Hello everyone, this is week 7 of Law, Crime and Punishment. Welcome back. Before we begin our journey into this week's topic, I want to do a very quick review of the past 2 weeks. In these past 2 weeks, we've covered various theories that aim to explain crime. In week 5, we talked about deviance, and then went on to discuss how the process of labeling has the effect of creating crime. People who are labeled criminals, we explained, eventually accept that label, embrace it, and end up committing more crime than they would have had they not been labeled as such. Notice that this theory is focused on the individual. It is an individual level theory. In week 6, we transition to the collective level in an attempt to explain the high rates of serious crime in the US. We discussed a theory that argues, in short, that there is a misalignment between the dictates of the American dream, the commitment to material success to be achieved by everyone, and the reality on the ground, one that by definition does not allow for everyone to achieve that material success, at least not by legal means. Hence, many Americans are, in a cultural sense, forced to choose crime in order to be able to live up to the dictates of that elusive American dream. And now we are in week 7. This week's topic is the phenomenology of crime. Phenomenology is the study of the lived experience. When we talk about one's lived experience, we refer, generally speaking, to the question, how does it feel to be human in this world? It's an attempt to capture and describe the experience of being human, of being alive, in various situations. In his book, The Seductions of Crime, from which we read the introduction in chapter 2, Jack Katz focuses on the phenomenology of crime. That is, the lived experience of crime. What does it feel like to commit a crime? How does it sound? How does it taste? What does it mean? A key distinction that Katz focuses on in his introduction to the book is the distinction between background and foreground factors. In short, background factors relate to the various boxes we use in order to categorize and organize human beings and human behavior. The very categories that we then use to explain human behavior. Age, gender, race, education, socioeconomic status, income, and so on and so forth. Now, most of sociology and criminology are based on using background factors to explain human behavior. When it comes to crime, for instance, the 3 main categories we rely on, usually in order to explain it, are age, gender, and socioeconomic status. So, according to most theories, the people most likely to commit crime, and we're talking here about mostly violent crime, are men, age 18 to 30, from a low socioeconomic status, i.e., poor people, poor men. And this is exactly the point where Jack Katz, the author of this book, intervenes and brings to the fore what he refers to as the problem with background factors. And he focuses on 3 problems. First, he states, most people who fit the causal categories do not commit crime. In other words, he says, yeah, these categories are useful in explaining crime, but still, most poor men aged 18 to 30 do not commit crime. Also, some people who do not fit the causal categories do commit crimes. How then do we explain a rich 50-year-old woman committing a crime? And finally, even those who do fit these causal categories go for long stretches without committing crimes. In other words, how do we account for a 25-year-old poor man who, for instance, commits a crime, let's say once a year, In that case, what happens during that year that prevents him from committing a crime, then leads him to commit a crime this one single day in between, and then go on another year-long hiatus? He then summarized this problem by asking, why are people who were not determined to commit a crime one moment determined to do so the next? And then Jack Katz proposes a new direction. I propose, he states, that empirical research turn the direction of inquiry around to focus initially on the foreground rather than the background of crime. And when Katz talks about foreground factors, he refers to the lived experience of crime. What is it about one's experience, he wonders, that leads them to decide to commit a crime? Is it even a decision, a conscious, intentional one? What happens during that moment of committing a crime? How does that moment feel? He then writes, to believe that a person can suddenly feel propelled to crime without any independently verifiable change in his background, it seems that we must almost believe in magic. And indeed, this is precisely what we must do. Now, to explain what he means by magic, Katz reflects on our experience of directing our own conduct. For instance, the experience of talking. He states, only rarely do we actually experience ourselves as subjects directing our conduct. How often, when you speak, do you actually sense that you are choosing the words you utter? As the words come out, they reveal the thought behind them, even to the speaker whose lips gave them shape. And here he refers to that experience of talking where all of us, if we stop for a second to reflect on it, have to come to realize that often when we talk, we don't really know what we're saying until it's being said, which of course brings up the question, who it is back there who's talking, who's making up these ideas and words. In his book, The Seductions of Crime, Katz reflects on our experience directing our own conduct and attempts to delve into the experience of committing all sorts of crimes. For instance, in chapter 1, he focuses on murder and attempts to describe what goes on in the mind of a person committing a murder. For this week, we read chapter 2, titled Sneaky Thrills, in which Katz dissects, analyzes, and depicts the experience of shoplifting. It is a truly beautiful text, probably the best sociological text I have ever read, and I hope that you enjoyed at least as much as I did. This is it for today, folks. We'll return in week 8 with some more sociology of law, crime, and punishment. Till then, take care and bye-bye.